Hey everyone. So this video is going to go over the third sample essay for this week, for the evaluation essay, Mario Brothers, a classic. So you might have noticed after you finished reading the essay that I had a note to students at the bottom. So I'm actually going to start there and then we'll go back and talk about the essay. So if you read the note, it basically explains that this essay is really not as high a quality as the other student sample essays that we're reading for essay number 2. It's very weak in a lot of ways. It doesn't really have the best topic sentences and transitions. The supporting evidence for each criteria is lacking. It really needed to be expanded and added to. But it does have a decent introduction. It has a decent conclusion. The organization is actually pretty good, minus that lack of topic sentences and transitions, but the order of the paragraphs is good. So it does have some positives to it, but the negatives are definitely there and they are obvious. I like to still use this as an example though, because it just offers a different type of topic for this essay. You know, we read 2 movie reviews. Next, you're going to read 2 restaurant reviews. And then I like this one because it's a video game review. And then the very last sample essay you will read is a review of a church. So I like those 2 sample essays because it's thinking outside the box a little bit, just giving you another type of topic to consider for the essay. If anyone would like to do a video game review and it ends up being way better than this one on Super Mario's, I would gladly trade them out and use yours as the sample for other classes. So just, something to aspire to perhaps. But it is decent in some respects. So we'll go back and we'll look at the essay itself and I'll point out some of the things that the author did pretty well. And then we'll look closely too at the areas that still needed to be improved upon. So the introduction starts off with a question, right? One way to grab your reader's attention. Looking for a great video game for yourself and your kids? Then give Mario Brothers a try. That's pretty, I'm not mad at that. And it actually lets us know right away too that it's a positive review for Mario Brothers. The basic point of the game is to rescue Princess Toadstool from Bowser the Dragon by jumping around, collecting coins, and defeating enemies. So it gives us just one sentence, little background information of what this game is all about. Didn't really need much more than that, but it's nice that it's there. If you don't know what Super Mario Brothers is, then this would be a little bit of helpful information for you. An entertaining action game, Mario Brothers has graphics that are great for its time and it is easy to pick up and play. Indeed, Mario Brothers for the Nintendo 64 is the best video game for people of all ages, judgment, because of its presentation, graphics, sound, gameplay, and lasting appeal. So judgment plus criteria equals thesis statement, right? That's pretty solid. So the introduction I think is pretty strong. Then it starts to, go downhill from there. The presentation Nintendo has achieved with Mario Brothers is simplistic and to the point. At least we did match up, the first main point we're looking at was indeed the first criteria listed in his thesis statement, presentation. It's so brief though, and it almost makes it seem like a negative. He definitely is not as into the presentation and the graphics and the color as much as he is the other criteria. So I mentioned in the video that explained the PowerPoint for this essay, or for essay number 2, that you want to pick something that you're not like middle of the road on. You want to pick something, a topic that you either are fully on board with or fully not on board with. This at least is just 1 out of 5 criteria that he's scoring a little lower, but he almost could have just taken it out. He still would have had 4 criteria and everything would have been positive. Then he goes on to talk about the graphics. Mario Brothers graphics are really good. That's a decent topic sentence. No transition, though, that linked us to the paragraph before it. But at least we know that this paragraph is going to be about the graphics. I still think he could have went into a little more detail and given a few more examples of the graphics, but at least we have a few more specifics in this criteria. He talks about the world that he lives in. You can see his clothes really well. I just think that there could have been maybe a more impactful example for the graphics. Then he moves on. 1 word can describe the music of Mario Brothers. Classic. That's true. But again, no transition from the paragraph before it. And then he goes on to talk about the music, but then he also talks about the sound effects. So that actually had me wondering at that point, okay, in the thesis statement, your 3rd criteria was the sound, but sound is one of the things that makes the game so good. But the topic sentence of this paragraph says 1 word can describe the music of Mario Brothers. Classic. That makes it sound like we're only talking about the music, but he's also talking about the other sound effects in the game. So that topic sentence looked like it was good, but then once we read the rest of the paragraph, it's like, oh no, this isn't just about the music. That topic sentence needed to be reworked. And again, probably could have used more examples here, or at least something a little more impactful and a little more that would make a bigger impression on the reader. And then he moves on. The gameplay is really what defines Mario Brothers. Again, no transition, but at least that topic sentence does match up with what the rest of the paragraph is about. Mario can run, jump, and shoot fireballs. It's basic, but it does it well. He goes into a little more detail. He gives a few more examples in that paragraph. I still honestly think that there's more that could be added. Just because you have a few easy examples to give, that doesn't necessarily mean that's the route you should take. Think about all of the different examples that you could draw upon to sort of back up the criteria that you're working on. So for gameplay here, that's the criteria he's working on. What other examples could he have used? Make a list of them if you need to, and then decide which ones will make the biggest impression on your reader. You don't have to use all of them if you have quite a few to choose from, but choose the ones that will have a lasting impression. And then he moves on. The lasting appeal of this game is expected to be very long and can be played over and over numerous times. As a topic sentence, it's not a total loss, but as just a sentence in and of itself, it's kind of wordy and awkward. You don't want your topic sentences, for sure, to be that way. You really don't want any of your sentences to be awkward or wordy, but certainly not the topic sentence. That's a pretty important position. You want to make sure it's crystal clear. And it's also a little confusing what he actually means with this criteria. Up in the thesis statement, he calls it lasting appeal. And to me, that indicates that people will want to continue playing it over and over for months, years down the road, right? But when he gets to this paragraph where he's explaining the lasting appeal, he's talking about how many levels there are and that you can play with 2 players and you switch turns. And then he ends it with all of these factors combined to make one long-lasting game. And that's not quite the same thing that lasting appeal would indicate to most readers. So that criteria needs to be worked on a little bit too. maybe all it's going to take is just rewording the fifth criteria, and instead of lasting appeal, call it something else. um, it would be the author's decision, but it needs to be clarified a little better. And then the conclusion: overall, it is safe to say that Mario Brothers is a must-have game for anybody in the family. Reminds us of his judgment, right? Besides the presentation, everything about this game says family fun. See, that's why he probably just shouldn't have even put in the criteria for presentation, because in the conclusion, he comes back and reminds us that there is one negative. Don't do that. No, we don't. What, don't focus on the negatives if you're wanting to give it a positive review. The gameplay has been built around a solid graphics engine that keeps begging to be played. So he does at least come back to those two criteria. Mario Brothers has set a new standard for platform gaming. Why wait? Go buy it now. He comes back to, he mentions three of his criteria again. The presentation, which he probably shouldn't have. The gameplay, the solid graphic engine. So he does at least remind us of a few of his criteria, but he did not remind us of all of them. So that would be something that this person would need to work on as well to fine tune the conclusion. But at least he reminded us of his judgment, and he ends pretty strong, right? Mario Brothers has set a new standard for platform gaming. Why wait? Go buy it now. That's a really decent conclusion for an essay like this. That's what you want your readers to do, right? Whatever it is that you are evaluating, you're trying to encourage them to go do it, go buy it, go experience it, or don't waste your money. This is horrible. So that's a really appropriate way to conclude this type of essay. So it does have its flaws, quite a few things that still need to be worked on to bring it up to like an A paper. Right now, I would say this is probably sitting at like a D+, C-, but easily brought up if they just went back and tweaked it a little bit, right? It has a really good introduction, so use that, information to help you whenever you start drafting your evaluation essay. The thesis statement is really strong. It's spot on for this type of essay. The order of his paragraphs is strong, and his conclusion is pretty decent. What you don't want to mirror from this essay is, make sure that you don't forget transitions with your topic sentences. Make sure that you're linking the paragraphs. I could take this essay and cut it up, each paragraph, and not necessarily know how to put it back together. The thesis statement might help me because he does list them in a specific order, but I should be able to tell based on the words at the beginning of each paragraph. So don't forget your transitions. Make sure your topic sentences are true topic sentences, that they really do tell us what that paragraph is about. And then don't skimp on the examples in each criteria. Make sure you're giving your reader enough examples, and important enough examples, that it's going to help prove your point that that criteria is one of the things that makes your topic so good or bad. So not the strongest of essays, but still worth reading. And like I said, it's just a different type of topic for essay number 2. It doesn't even have to be a video game. Perhaps it's a game that you play on an iPad or a tablet or your PC or your phone. So lots of different options there with this type of subject matter. But if you have any other questions about this particular essay, let me know. Otherwise, next week we'll be moving on to the next 3 sample essays.